When people work in high pressure situations and they begin to struggle, there are three things that they lose. And one of those things is a sense of self. And I know that when I was arguably at the top of my game in advertising, I lost my sense of self. I no longer knew who I was. I had all of this stuff around me. I had the friends I wanted. I had the job I wanted. I was working on the clients I wanted to work on. But inside, I wasn't the person I wanted to be when I had all of this stuff. And it really hurt. And it can hurt for a lot of people. And it causes a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress, especially unconsciously, because we're in direct violation with who we were born to be. What we are doing and who we are being is not who we were born to be. So why does this happen? Well, as well as being creatures of habit, we are creatures of cooperation. So we are born to survive, obviously. Now, when we are born as our true self. And if there were no external circumstances around us and we weren't influenced by others, we would grow up and be our true self. We would never struggle with a loss of self-identity. And yet we do. We do because in order to fit in with the group, we have to check what we believe against what the rest of the group believes. And if the rest of the group believes, like our teachers, our parents, our siblings, the media, the magazines, the books we read, etc., etc., if they are competing with that, we tend to let our beliefs go and we take on their beliefs. And that's where a piece of us dies. A piece of us dies when we let go of our belief and take somebody else's belief on in order to fit in. So how can we repair this? How can we rediscover our sense of self? Well, step one, I can't give the whole process now. Step one is this: you need to be aware of the fact that you gave yourself away. So it's not about discovering yourself, it's remembering yourself. It's remembering who you were. You're in there still. You were born that way. You've just forgotten it because of all these layers of shit that are wrapped around. So what you want to do, step one, get yourself a journal or a piece of paper and write down on it all of the things you do most often, your dominant behaviors and your dominant things that you say. What do you say most often in public? What do you do most often in public? What do you do as a job? What's your message that you give out to the world? How do you communicate with the world? What do you say that you're the enemy you fight to the world, etc. And then what you want to do is and this is a deep thinking exercise, it doesn't happen in 5 seconds, by the way, pick a behavior or the job that you do or whatever, and you want to dig into it. Why do I do that thing? And you dig, but why do I do it? Why do I do it? Why do I do it? And why do I do it? Yeah? If the root cause of you doing that behavior or saying those things that you say so much, if it isn't coming from you, it's coming from somebody else's belief, that's where you lost a piece of yourself at that time. That's when you rejected a piece of yourself and took a piece of them on. The same with the words that you say, the same with the beliefs that you have, the same with the behaviors that you have. I've said before that your identity is a state of repeated beingness. So you want to find out, what do you repeatedly do? And then question each of those things. Ask yourself, why do I do each of these things? If those reasons aren't coming from your heart, from your soul, from your truth, that is not a part of you. And then the question is, what would you say if you would never be judged, if you weren't so worried about what society thought, if you weren't so wrapped up in perfectionism because you want to prove yourself to others? What would your behaviors be? What would you say? If someone paid you $1 million a year to do whatever you wanted to do and say whatever you wanted to say, what would you do and what would you say? That is you getting close to who you truly are and remembering yourself.